had children who ended up being neurodiverse that I had to support and advocate for. But then I used my skills to advocate for both my children and other children.
Like a small boat on the ocean.
Hi everyone, Elle Ballard is here today on our Empowered Global Women in Business podcast. This is a special edition as part of Papadalooza event, and I have my next featured speaker with me today, Mannette Antill. Hi Mannette.
Hi, I'm so glad to be here.
Great to have you. Welcome. Mannette is an award-winning actor, teaching artist, and voice coach, combining her artistic and legal expertise to empower professionals, speakers, and actors to overcome public speaking fears, connect authentically with audiences, and unlock the power of their voices with leading voice methodologies. Having served as a lawyer, media spokesperson, and advocate for underrepresented and neurodivergent individuals, driven by her mission to help others create meaningful impact in the world. Welcome, Mannette.
Thank you. And I understand that's who your audience is. So I'm excited to be here to engage with them.
Yeah, great to talk to you. So I want to jump right into what you do. Your experience is so rich and deep and diverse, and I can see where that is helping you empower others, right, through the voice. But share with us, how did that whole thing even come up for you?
How it all came about. I do pretty much in general, I'm a voice coach, but I'm a voice empowerment. But I will tell you, as many of us do, that comes from an experience of not having power. Right? We often find and develop in our abilities based on what we've had to overcome. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you that when I was I was raised in Texas, small town Texas, where girls were supposed to be quiet and good, right? And not have loud voices, right? So my mother looked at me when I was about 4 years old with this glare she got from my grandmother, right? Mannette, lower your voice.
Yeah.
And of course, I needed to get her back, and she was obviously very upset with my loud, full voice. And so I said, "Is this low enough, Mother?" Hoping she'd laugh, and she, yes. And of course, it didn't happen just once. When you're 4, that doesn't happen just once. So there was this series, but we kind of developed this little game. Is this low enough, Mother? And so eventually, I put my voice down here. You can hear it, right? Because that's got a microphone, but it's a little breathy. It's buried. I buried my voice here. Mannette, lower your voice, right? Mm-hmm. And this is the voice that I used throughout most of my my young life. We moved around a lot when I was a child, and so I constantly had to kind of create myself anew to get into new environments. So I learned actually how to get approval. I learned to be who I needed to be in an environment to work my way in. And it had to be this gentle, I didn't want to push my way in. So I became the good girl. I became, I did drama. I did some drama. I did debate and all this, but what I loved was dance. That was my safe space. That was where I could just be in the moment. That's where I could just, everything else disappeared for me when I was in the dance, and I was in my body, right?
Right.
So that became my kind of safe space. And so when I entered into college, I kind of assumed I would because I did theater, I danced, I played an instrument, but it was the late 60s. I don't know if your audience knows, there was something called Woodstock. 1969 was the year of Woodstock, the big rock extravaganza. But it was also it was hippies, it was the age of Aquarius, but it was also the Vietnam War was raging. Mm-hmm. And, we had friends dying in a war that we didn't support. And so I was out protesting and marching against the war. That became a very big political expression for me. It was not long after really all the civil rights acts was passed and Martin Luther King was killed. It was just a very highly political time. It was also a time of the second wave of feminism. Sisterhood was powerful, right? And suddenly I thought, dance, music, that stuff's not important. I need to do something important. I need to change the world. I went out, I worked in the Texas legislature, and I worked on a committee where sat Sarah Weddington. Now, I might not know her name. Sarah Weddington was the lawyer when she was 26 years old that won Roe versus Wade, which was the case, the Supreme Court case that made abortion legal. I worked with Sarah on the legislative committee, and I went to law school. She motivated me to go to law school. Class was 16% women, and we didn't get the interviews. We didn't get the jobs. We weren't getting the jobs. We sued the 5 largest law firms in Dallas with the EEOC. I became very politically motivated, right? Lots of changes were going on then that we had to fight for. I worked with domestic violence victims when I went, and then I went to law school, worked with domestic violence victims, worked in women's political empowerment. I was a prosecutor with several fraud. I went in-house. I worked because I wanted to know how corporations work and antitrust, and I worked for Dr. Pepper. I worked for PepsiCo. And then finally, I needed to be myself, and I had my own law practice with another woman, and we counseled women who wanted to start their businesses, women-focused businesses. But eventually, both of us decided we hated the constant fighting, the constant lawyers fight. And it's constantly fighting. We both became mothers. We weren't comfortable with being this constant kind of fight. We got together because our midwife got us together.
Yeah.
And she became a midwife and delivered my 4th child. But anyway, we both became just who I was became a question. What was I doing? Why was I doing it? Right. And I had children who ended up being neurodiverse that I had to support and advocate for. But then I used my skills to advocate for both my children and other children who at the time in the 80s and the 90s were not getting the accommodations that they needed. So I did use those skills, right? But anyway, ultimately, when my children kind of were gone and I was trying to decide what I wanted to do, I didn't want to practice law. I went back to school and studied theater. That's where I discovered this voice, this varied voice.
Yeah.
They were saying, oh, you're doing good work, but we're losing the end of your sentences and we can't really hear you. And I had to learn the voice work of the actor to bring my voice up, to bring my voice out. And I will tell you, when you bring your voice up, when you bring your voice out, it does something to your whole sense of your identity, who you are, how you can be in the world. And you suddenly become not only connected to your voice, you become connected to your voice, right? And it's a physical process, just like dance. You cannot empower this voice until you become connected with and open and become connected to your body. Embodied somatic process.
Yeah.
And this is what this training and this ability to become connected to your voice in your voice. I've been working with actors, but I began to realize anybody and everybody can use these skills. And that's my mission, to create change in the world. And I will just say that how things have been in recent years, and particularly this last year, there's a lot of need for women to change the world and to reclaim the world for justice, for equity, for the unempowered, right?
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that story and the richness of your story, that now you're able to help others with the voice. And I love how you brought that to dance, because I'm a dancer, and the whole embodiment with it. I just absolutely love that, because I think we don't realize how that is all connected. And when we speak from the heart, when we speak from the body, really speak from the body. And that's why the way we feel, and I only realized it later myself as a dancer, the difference, how I feel before I start dancing and what happens after I finish the dance. And it's similar to speaking too. I just realized too, with public speaking, right? It's so interesting. So I love that we are talking about it. And I admire the work that you do to help others bring that forward, and how important that is. And really, what it means when we're not, right?
When we
And
allow our voices to be
when,
buried.
yeah, to be buried. Yeah. When we suppress what needs to get out, that is so important as well. Thank you for doing that.
One of the things you and I were talking about before that we learn, I mean, the techniques of the voice, the techniques of dance, but unless you feel those actions,
Yes.
an open connection to who you are,
Mhm.
it doesn't translate into the connection that you feel and that you want the audience to feel.
Yeah, I just talked about the somatic of like when making decision and how the body knows, the body has the answers on subconscious intuitive level. And I love this because it's just so true. And the more we listen to it, we get the
And
answer.
sure, you may have introduced your speakers to the book, The Body Knows the Score by Bessel van der Klerk. It talks about how it's our bodies and through which we feel. I was just going to show you, there's a book called The Molecules of Emotion.
Mhm.
This is not about voice. It's a woman scientist who is a neuroimmunologist, and she actually discovered the opiate receptor. But
Mhm.
what she did when she was doing that is that all of our cells have receptors for all the neurotransmitters that are in our brain. Dopamine, serotonin, all the hormones, norepinephrine, exist all throughout our body. They collect more intensely in our brain and in our gut. We have those same synapses, those same neurotransmitters, those same things happening in our gut that we do in our head. There's no separation at all. They're together.
Yeah.
And also, we do not feel our emotions with our hips. There's a limbic system and various kinds of ways that process emotions here. But what they do is they send through our nervous system into our bodies.
Yeah.
They're called feelings because we feel them in our bodies,
The body.
right? We say that touched my heart. And if you think about it, if you imagine something that touched your heart, a little baby or a loved one, or people like to watch puppies on, on the screen. But just when you think of something that touched my heart, you'll actually feel a warmth, a kind of an openness, here, right? We also say that gave me butterflies in my stomach,
Butterflies.
right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Butterflies in the stomach. It's because this is where we feel excitement,
Yeah.
right? This is where we feel nervous, right?
Yeah.
This is also where we find laughter,
Yeah.
a little flirt. It's here. You can feel it when you do it. You feel it here. We also say that got me in the gut, right? That's where we feel power. Oh, right? But that's where we feel tears, like, oh, oh. Meryl Streep will tell you she acts from her gut,
Yeah.
right? So this is where we feel it. And what we do and what we have done from all kinds of experience we have in our lives is we armor, we pull in, we take our muscles. We don't want to feel those feelings.
Yeah.
We escape those feelings. And when we do, that's the way we do it. We pull in so we don't feel. And when we do, that also restricts our sound and our voice because we can't breathe and our lungs can't fill with air.
Yeah.
So that's why, again, it is a embodied somatic process. When I went into theater school and then I had to go to voice class, I expected I'd be doing with my voice. And when I did, they sit me down. You can see this is my studio. They put me down on the floor, right? And we started rolling around doing stuff that was like yoga and tai chi and qigong. We moved and we yawned and we used our bodies, right? So what's to do with my voice? It has everything to do with your voice and your ability to connect. What I teach is people are surprised. It's very physical. Yeah.
Very physical. Yeah. As we are getting to finish line here on our very short episode, but really great conversation. I love all of this because I can totally relate through my work and we connected as dancers as well. What is the final thought that you would want to share with our audience today, Mannette, when it comes to voice and really showing up? Because we are on the Empowered Global Women in Business podcast. Women in business, as we show up more for ourselves, for our clients, and speak about our businesses.
What I say is that, I don't fix people's voices. I empower and give people choices in the use of their voice. Our voices are like snowflakes. Every one of us, there's not one person in 7.1 some billion people in the universe that have your voice. It's like your fingerprints, the worlds of your ear. It's very much. And you have the voice that you were given to fulfill the purpose that you were sent, that you have inside of you. You have time, you have ownership, you have an ability to take hold of this voice that's only yours and have it fulfill your intention.
Thank you for being our guest today. Very nice to meet you, Mannette.
I do want to say I can be contacted. My website is Your Voice Connection.
Oh, easy.
You connect with your voice, with others, with yourself. So it's Your Voice Connection.
Your Voice Connection.
We'll go on there. I do have a PDF available that takes the 7 fundamental needs, and I'd like to offer your listener, if once they go on there, they can just do a let's connect. Very brief 20. It's not a sales call. It's a 20-minute connection just to talk about the voice. And when they do that, I can give them, if they're interested in working with me, a promotion code for actually an over 50% reduction on my course.
Wow.
And a connection to a book.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We will post links on how to connect with Mannette on our YouTube video if you're watching it there, or on our podcast channel as well. Please connect with Mannette. So much knowledge, so much wisdom, but also so important to regain your voice. Thank you so much.
Best to everyone. Use your voice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.